What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'd like to talk about some things that I wish someone had told me before I got my first tortoises. You think that they're easy pets and low maintenance, just give them some lettuce and buy them a fish tank, and that's kind of it. But it's really not it's not really that simple. Today I would like to go over a lot of things that I've learned over my last couple of years of keeping tortoises to hopefully help keep y'all from making the same mistakes that I made. Um, Save y'all some money on buying things that didn't work or was unneeded, and just help y'all make better informed decisions for caring tortoises before you even get one, or if you're still a relatively new person to tortoises, maybe to help you keep from some of the heartbreak that I've had to deal with, and just simply wasting money. So with that, let's get into the video. One of the biggest misconceptions about tortoises is that they're easy pets to take care of. And while it doesn't take rocket surgery to care for a tortoise, there is a lot of things that you need to keep in consideration, and that they're not just a simple low cost leave it and forget it for a couple of days or something pet. They require proper temperature, they require proper humidity, lighting, and if you fail to provide any of one of those three, it can lead to them suffering from respiratory infections, metabolic bone disease, if they're not given the proper diet. It can definitely cause metabolic bone disease, shell deformities, things of that nature. So you really have to do your homework for your sanity and for the safety and the health of the animal. You have to do your homework and research and kind of dial your care in importance that you have needs are. Like if you're lucky like me, I live down here in Georgia on 4 acres, and I have them outside. Then that Mother Nature takes care of a lot of that for me. But I have to give supplemental heat during the winter time, and so that's something to think about. If you're able to keep them outside, they are a lot easier. Their care requirements are met from Mother Nature herself. But if you have to keep them inside, then you have to worry about you getting things like a heat lamps or a heat source to keep them comfortable. You have to worry about giving them UVB bulbs for UVB. That helps with them being able to their body to be able to absorb the calcium like they should. So you have to worry about that. So they're not just simple pets to just leave and forget, like some people think. They're really, in reality, they're one of the most misunderstood reptiles in the reptile hobby. If you do your research, it'll make things a lot easier on you and on the tortoise. But that's something I wish I knew more about. Now I always plan to keep mine outside, but for someone that's just getting started, if they have to keep them inside, these are some of the things that you'll need to think of. Let's go over it again. Heat lamps, UVB bulbs, calcium. You have to give them calcium supplements on their food a couple of times a week, and it's just all things that you have to keep in your mind. And I always implore to always do your research on your specific tortoise, and to make things a lot easier for each of y'all. The thing most people don't think about, myself included, is how big of an enclosure that they actually need. Most people think of tortoises as slow, clumsy, just kind of meandering little critters, but in reality, they can really cover a lot of ground. So aquarium tanks isn't going to cut it for most species of tortoise. They really need like a tortoise table or a dedicated room in your house, or like for me, I have large enclosures outside. This enclosure we're standing in here is 50 by 50 for several sulcata tortoises. And most pet stores will tell you that they can live in an aquarium, and that's just not true. Most of them need at least probably a 4x8 tortoise table, or bigger is always better. Whatever the biggest thing that you can afford and be able to accommodate in your house, or like for me, outside where you got more room, a nice big enclosure is what they really need. And then be able to make sure it meets all their requirements, and be able to have places to the sun, places to get out of the sun, and places for them to hide and feel secure. And if you do this, then that'll make your life a lot easier, being able to care for the tortoises, cleaning up their environment, and things of that nature. So that's something that definitely has to be kept in mind, is that they need a lot bigger than what most pet stores will tell you, and what most people will tell you, is that they can't live in an aquarium. And a tortoise table, or if you can get them outside, something at least probably 4x8 for most of them. But like for my sulcatas, they either need a dedicated room in your house, or they are just best being outside. Aldabras, Galapagos tortoises, leopard tortoises, they all really do much better outside. Redfoots, Hermans, Russians, ones that could probably be in live comfortably in like a 4x8 for most of their life. But like for redfoots, once they get complete like 10 inches or so, then they really need something maybe like say 5x10 or something, just a little bit bigger, will be a lot better for them. But like for Russians and Hermans, they stay smaller, so you could easily house them in a 4x8. So that's something I wish I really realized and more people talked about, was that they definitely do require a lot bigger habitats than a lot of the websites and pet sellers will tell you. Next one is one of probably the most important and serious aspects of tortoises that a lot of people don't think of, is that they live an incredibly long time. Some can live 50, 80 to even 100 years old. That means that you're not just buying a pet, you're buying a lifelong commitment. And so you have to plan accordingly. That means you could quite possibly be buying a pet that's going to outlive you more times than not. So that means you have to think of what's going to happen to them if something happens to you, and you have to be making a long term care plans for them, just for your peace of mind, and also just out of respect for the animal. That happens to you, there to get the animals and make that plan with all your family. Make it clear to everybody who you want the tortoises to go to, or just make sure you have a plan in place if something happens to you, and you're no longer able to care for them, because they will more often than not outlive you. Aldabra tortoises and Galapagos tortoises have been known to get close to 200 years old, and so it's just something you have to keep in mind, just out of respect for the animals that you buy and you're going to love, just to make sure that they're for in the future. Next on the list is heating and humidity. I didn't realize at first how crucial uh, the temps and the humidity level were for tortoises. You can't just go buy a heat lamp and throw it in their enclosure and call it done. They require a thermostat to help make sure they don't overheat, and their enclosures don't overheat. They need a proper basking area. Their heat sources, they need something at night. They need to make sure the heat sources are safe for them, and they're not going to burn themselves. And then you have to keep an eye on and be mindful of, is making sure that they have a stable temperature, and then also you have to make sure that the humidity levels are stable. Improper temperatures and improper humidity levels can lead to respiratory infections, and also to metabolic bone disease. And you don't want that for your tortoises. And pyramiding on their shells, and their shells won't be nice and smooth if the humidity levels aren't properly kept. So that means you need to think of getting a thermostat hooked up, heat lamp during the day, but then you need like some type of nighttime heating, like a ceramic heat emitter. Or if you have a bigger enclosure, you might could get, like I have for my tortoise shed here, a radiant oil filled heater, and I use a combination of it, basking lights during the day on the coldest days, and ceramic heat emitters for my tortoises, all connected to a thermostat. And like I have mine outside, so the basking areas is took care of by Mother Nature, and she does it best, in my opinion. But if you have to keep your tortoises inside, you'll need to think of heat lamps for basking areas, ceramic heat emitter. Uh, some people use the under the tank heaters, but really tortoises need a basking area from above, and not so much from below. So you just need to do your research on that and make sure you give them the proper temperature for the specific tortoise that you have. And humidity levels also vary from species to species. And um, if you have them outside, a lot of the times it can you have to keep a watch on it there too, because some species like the leopard tortoise like it drier. In my humidity here in Georgia can sometimes be a little too humid for them. When you're trying to keep tortoises outside or inside, and if you have a larger tortoise in larger enclosure, it can be a lot harder to keep the parameters of both heat and humidity in check. So you need something like a hydrometer and several thermometers around your enclosures just to keep an accurate check on how things are going in your tortoise enclosure. Because if you don't, like I said, if you don't keep the temperature and humidity in check, then it can lead to health issues down the road, and then that's going to lead to vet visits, and we'll get here. I thought the diet of tortoises was going to be the simplest part of keeping them. I thought I could just toss them some lettuce, some collard greens, something like that, some kind of greens, and then it'd be all good in the hood. But that's not actually the case either when you get to looking into it. They require a high fiber, low protein diet, and so you cannot like something like spinach is really high in oxalates, and so that is something you don't do. You need to feed to them very, very sparingly. The best diet for them is natural grasses. A really big thing is the diet is not making sure they're getting too much processed greens. You really need to try and feed them more hay or natural grasses if you have the ability to. If you don't have the ability for natural grasses, then you'll want to try with hay, and then just feed them a mixture of everything like collard greens, mustard greens, kale. You can give them cilantro, but and then you could also give them squash, cucumbers. Um, some people say they like bell peppers. Mine do not like bell peppers. An important part of the diet is calcium powder. You need to dust their food with calcium powder. If it's like collard greens, stuff I was mentioning, you have to put it with calcium powder. If you have them outside where they're getting a lot of sun, and also if you have them under a UVB bulb, you want to get calcium powder without the vitamin D3, because they're getting that vitamin through the sunlight or through the UVB bulb, and that can cause them to get overdosed on D3. But if you don't give them calcium, it will lead to soft shells. The bones will be soft and brittle and cause them to get injured more easily, and it could just cause a myriad of health issues. So you definitely don't want to skimp. That is something I learned, unfortunately, the hard way. and lost a couple of tortoises because I didn't realize exactly how important it was. Now on to the vet care deal. Um, Something a lot of people don't tell you is that not all vets handle reptiles. A lot of people don't tell you about reptiles is that a lot of vets don't deal with reptiles. So finding a vet that does specialize in reptiles, especially a good reptile vet, is extremely hard to find. And with that, they're going to be extremely expensive. So before you ever get a tortoise, you should try and do a little bit of looking around and find the nearest one that does reptiles, and keep their information handy just in case of an emergency, or if you need your reptile needs to be seen by a vet. A lot of times you want to probably may end up having to drive an hour or two away from your home to find one, especially one that's good anyway. And so you have to keep that in mind. The price is probably going to be nearly astronomical, I would imagine. In some places, the reptile vet is really hard to find. But that's something I didn't think about at first, and I wish someone had told me that. Is reptile vets are not easy to find, and especially good ones that actually know what they're doing and is specialized in knowing about tortoises can even be a little bit harder to find than just a general reptile vet that knows about a little bit about lizards, tortoises, or snakes. My most favorite part about tortoises that I kind of knew a little bit about, but not a whole lot, and didn't really think about it a whole lot. But they have great personalities, and they definitely have a wide range of personalities. Some are bold, some are shy, some are quite outgoing, and they are interactive in a way. Like my dozer, he's very bold and bullish, especially during the breeding season. But then you take like my two cicadas, Mario and Luigi, they come running when I come into the enclosure every time, regardless if I have food or not. They're running over to say hi and see what I'm doing. So they're very curious creatures. They're not just ornament. They are quite curious animals, and I love coming to see what you're doing. They over time they'll learn to recognize you as someone who comes and brings them food, and if you spend a lot of time with them, they actually will come and actively seek out your company. If I'm in my cicadas enclosure here, fixing something or working on something, they're right there with me, right there by my side, seeing what I'm doing. So sometimes to the point of annoyance, actually, where they're getting into my way. But yeah, that's one of my favorite things about tortoises is that they have an awesome personality for the most part. Now my dozer, he does not have a great personality because he wants to attack you all the time. So some tortoises can be quite aggressive, and you just have to watch that with children or elderly people. Just make sure you know they're not going to go sit there and ram their leg or something. But for the most part, they're friendly little critters. It will add to your enjoyment if you have things planned out beforehand and you're not scrambling and behind the eight ball, so to speak, trying to get things set up after you bought the tortoise. You'll have a greater peace of mind to have everything set up and in place the day you get your tortoise, and then you're golden pretty much, and you can live decades and decades together, hopefully. But yeah, if you found any of this information helpful and enjoyed the video, I would appreciate it if you'd like the video, subscribe, and down in the comments if you would give one thing you wish you knew before you got your tortoise, or if any of the things that you found out today. So in closing, I'd like to say I really do love my tortoises. I love them a lot, and I wouldn't change having them for anything in the world. Just the above stuff that I listed is things that I wish I knew before getting them. There's certainly none of them a deal breaker, or I don't think they should be a deal breaker. Just you just have to plan accordingly. But like I said, I don't regret it, ever getting my tortoises. They've been quite the joy of my life. Um, but there's, like I said, if you're thinking about getting one, just plan accordingly. Make sure you can afford their proper setup. Make sure you can afford their food. Make sure, if needed, the vet care, you can afford the vet care for them. And most importantly, just make sure you're committed to doing the very best you can for the tortoise that you're planning on getting. It will. I would appreciate you letting us know that, or any other ideas that you think people should know about for tortoises. Put them down in the comments as well. If you're new here to this community, I like to share my lives with the tortoises, and I'll also be making videos of tortoise care. The channel here is dedicated to tortoises specifically, but I hope to eventually get other things, lizards and snakes. So I'll have a little bit of a wide variety of things, and this channel will be dedicated to caring for the tortoises, sharing tips that I might find, and just how I care for the tortoises here in general. So yeah, please like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.